Hello students, I am Assistant Professor Hima S. from Department of Civil Engineering, Trinity College of Engineering. Today, in this video, we will discuss some important concepts from the topic Laws of Motion in Physics. These are the contents that we are going to discuss today. First, Newton's laws of motion, and it includes Newton's first law, Newton's second law and Newton's third law of motion. Then impulse, concurrent forces and equilibrium of concurrent forces, Lami's theorem, apparent weight of a man in lift, motion of bodies in contact, motion of connected bodies, friction, laws of friction, characteristics of friction, and characteristics of friction includes coefficient of friction, angle of friction and angle of repose. So let's begin this session with Newton's laws of motion. First consider Newton's first law of motion. Every body continues in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless it is compelled by some external force to change that state. So Newton's first law says that when a body is in rest, it will remain at rest. If a body is in uniform motion, it will remain in uniform motion unless it is disturbed by some external force. This law brings the concept of inertia. The property of the body which resists any effort to change its state of rest or motion is known as inertia of the body. Inertia is an inherent property of all the bodies by virtue of which they cannot change their state of rest or uniform motion along a straight line on their own. Quantitatively, inertia of a body is measured by its mass. Thus, heavier the body, greater is its inertia. Inertia of a body is of three types: inertia of rest, inertia of motion and inertia of direction. Inertia of rest is the inability of a body to change its state of rest by itself. Say for example, a person standing in a stationary bus falls backward when the bus suddenly starts moving. Next, consider inertia of motion. It is the inability of a body to change its state of uniform motion by itself. Say for example, a person getting down a moving bus or train falls forward. Then consider inertia of direction. It is the inability of a body to change its direction of motion by itself. Say for example, when a car suddenly takes a turn, the person sitting inside the car is thrown in the outward direction. So these are the various types of inertia. Next, consider Newton's second law of motion. The rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which force acts. So according to Newton's second law, force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. That is, F is equal to mass into change in velocity by time, which is equal to mass into acceleration, that is F is equal to m into a. Similarly, the weight of the body is equal to mass into acceleration due to gravity, that is W is equal to m into g. The next concept, momentum. Momentum is defined as the product of mass and velocity. The direction of momentum is same as that of the velocity. Also, momentum is a vector quantity and its unit is kilogram meter per second. The next, impulse. It is defined as the product of force and time for which that force acts on the body, which equals change in momentum. Hence, impulse is equal to force into time, which is equal to change in momentum. Change in momentum is final momentum minus initial momentum. Therefore, F into T is equal to mv minus mu, where m is the mass of the body, v is the final velocity and u is the initial velocity. This relation is used for solving problems. Next, consider Newton's third law. It states that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This law is referred to as law of action and reaction. The force exerted by the body on the support is called action, and the force exerted by the support on the body is called reaction. I will explain it with the help of a figure. So first consider a body of weight W. The force exerted by the body on the support is known as action. So the force exerted by the body is the weight of the body. So weight of body is vertically acting downwards and is known as the reaction. So to counter the weight of the body, the support exerts a force on the body which is known as the reaction. So second figure shows action and third figure shows a reaction. Okay. First consider concurrent forces. Concurrent forces are those forces whose line of action meet at a common point. I will explain. Consider three forces F1, F2 and F3 meets at a common point O. Hence, these three forces are known as concurrent forces. Then equilibrium of concurrent forces. A number of concurrent forces acting on a body are said to be in equilibrium if the resultant of these forces is 0. So, for a given system of concurrent forces to be in equilibrium, the net or resultant forces on the system will be equal to 0. Next important theorem, Lami's theorem. It states that if three forces acting at a point are in equilibrium, then each force is proportional to the sine of angle between other two forces. Consider three forces F1, F2 and F3 acting at a point O. All the included angles are known. Then according to Lami's theorem, magnitude of force is proportional to sine of angle between other two forces. So F1 is proportional to sine of angle between F2 and F3, that is alpha. So F1 is proportional to sine alpha. Similarly, F2 is proportional to sine beta and F3 is proportional to sine gamma. So F1 by sine alpha is equal to a constant, F2 by sine beta is equal to a constant, F3 by sine gamma is equal to a constant. Then according to Lami's theorem, F1 by sine alpha is equal to F2 by sine beta is equal to F3 by sine gamma. Next, apparent weight of a man in lift. Apparent weight is known as the true weight, which means the weight or the true weight exerted by a man standing on a lift. So the first condition, when the lift is at rest or moving with constant velocity, the apparent weight or true weight is equal to m into g. Similarly, if the lift is moving upward with an acceleration a, apparent weight is equal to m into g plus a. Also, when the lift is accelerating downward with an acceleration a, the apparent weight is equal to m into g minus a. And last, if the cable supporting the lift break and the lift fall freely, the apparent weight is equal to 0. So by heart these four formulas. When the lift is at rest or uniform motion, apparent weight is equal to mg. When the lift is moving upward, apparent weight is equal to m into g plus a. When the lift is moving downwards, apparent weight is equal to m into g minus a. And when the lift is falling freely, apparent weight is equal to 0. Next, tension on the rope when a man climbs up or down the rope. So when a person of mass m climbs up a rope with an acceleration a, then the tension on the rope is T is equal to m into g plus a. And when a person climbs down the rope, the tension on the rope is T is equal to m into g minus a. And last, when a person of mass m climbs up or down with uniform speed, then the tension in the rope is T is equal to mg. Just by heart these three formulas. First, consider motion of bodies in contact. Case 1. When two bodies of masses m1 and m2 are placed in contact with each other on a smooth horizontal surface, let a force F is applied on mass m1. Here the force F is applied on mass m1. Here you can see. Then the acceleration of the system is given by A is equal to F divided by m1 plus m2, and the contact force between m1 and m2, force between two masses, is given by small f is equal to m2f divided by m1 plus m2. Just by heart this formula so that you can do the problems. Then case 2, just see this figure. When the force is applied on m2, in the first figure the force is applied on mass m1, but in the second figure you are applying force F on mass m2. Then the acceleration of the system is given by A is equal to F by m1 plus m2, and also the contact force between m1 and m2 is taken as F dash, and it is given by small f dash is equal to m1f divided by m1 plus m2. Okay, so in the first case force is applied on mass m1, and in the second case force is applied on mass m2. Okay, then consider case 3. When three bodies of masses m1, m2 and m3 respectively are placed in contact with each other on a smooth horizontal surface, that a force F is applied on mass m1. Here from first two figures, two masses were placed in contact with each other, but in the third case you were given three masses m1, m2 and m3, and a force F is applied on mass m1. Then the acceleration of the system is given by A is equal to F divided by m1 plus m2 plus m3, and the contact force between m1 and m2 is taken as F dash, and is given by F dash is equal to m2 plus m3 into F divided by m1 plus m2 plus f3. And last, the contact force between mass m2 and mass m3 is given as F2 dash, which is equal to m3f divided by m1 plus m2 plus m3. Okay. Then consider case 4. Here also you were given three masses m1, m2 and m3, but the force is applied on mass m3. Okay. Then the acceleration of system is given by A is equal to F divided by m1 plus m2 plus m3. The contact force between mass m1 and m2 is taken as F1, which is equal to m1f divided by m1 plus m2 plus m3, and the contact force between mass m2 and m3 is taken as F11, which is equal to m1 plus m2 into F divided by m1 plus m2 plus m3. Okay, so these are the 4 cases to be studied in motion of bodies in contact. Okay. Next, consider motion of connected bodies. Case 1. When two bodies of masses m1 and m2 are connected by a uniform massless string and placed on a smooth horizontal surface, let a force F is applied on mass m2. Here you can see two masses m1 and m2 are connected by a string tension on string is given as T and a force F is applied on mass M2. Here, the acceleration of the system is given by A is equal to F divided by M1 plus M2 and the tension on the string is given by A is equal to M1 F divided by M1 plus M2. Then case 2, when three bodies of masses M1, M2, M3 are connected by the strings and placed on a smooth horizontal surface, let a force F be applied on mass M3. In the second case, you were given three masses M1, M2, M3. These three masses are connected by strings. The tension on the string connecting bodies M1 and M2 is T1 and the tension on the string connecting bodies M2 and M3 is T2. In this case, the acceleration of the system is given by A is equal to F divided by M1 plus M2 plus M3 and the tension T1 is given by M1 F divided by M1 plus M2 plus M3 and T2 is given by M1 plus M2 into F divided by M1 plus M2 plus M3. Then case 3, when two bodies of masses M1 and M2, say M1 greater than M2 are connected by an inextensible string passing over a light frictionless pulley as shown in figure. In case 3, you were given two masses M1 and M2. Here the mass M1 is greater than M2. It is connected by a string passing over a smooth frictionless pulley. In such case, the acceleration of system is given by M1 minus M2 into G divided by M1 plus M2. Please note here M1 is greater than M2. Also, the tension on the string is 2M1 M2 G divided by M1 plus M2. And the last case of motion on connected bodies, when two bodies of masses M1 and M2 are attached to the two ends of inextensible string passing over a frictionless pulley attached to an edge of a horizontal table. As you can see, here you were given two masses M1 and M2. One mass, these two masses are connected by a string of tension T. Mass M1 is placed on a horizontal smooth plane and M2 hangs freely. For this system, the acceleration is given by M2G divided by M1 plus M2 and the tension on the string is given by M1 M2G divided by M1 plus M2. Okay, so these are the formula that you have to by heart in the portion motion of bodies in contact and motion of connected bodies. Okay. Next topic, friction. It is an opposing force which comes into play when one body moves or even tries to move over the surface of another body. So when one body moves over the surface of another body, a force develops at the contact surface which is known as the frictional force. It can be static friction, it can be dynamic friction, sliding friction or rolling friction. So static friction, it is an opposing force that comes into play when a body tends to move over the surface of another body. Also, dynamic friction is the opposing force that acts between two bodies in contact when one body is actually moving over the surface of another body. Similarly, sliding friction is the opposing force that comes into play when one body is actually sliding over the surface of other body. And rolling friction is an opposing force that comes into play when one body is actually rolling over the surface of other body. Then limiting friction. This is an important term in friction. So the limiting friction is the maximum opposing force that comes into play when one body is just in the verge of moving over the surface of other body. Which means if the applied force is equal to the frictional force, the body remains at rest. If the applied force is less than frictional force, then also the body remains at rest. And if the applied force is greater than limiting friction, the body moves in the direction of applied force. So here you can see a body of weight W, a force P is applied towards right. So the body has a tendency to move towards right. Hence, the frictional force at contact surface acts in the opposite direction. Next, characteristics of friction. First, consider coefficient of friction. The limiting frictional force is proportional to normal reaction at contact surface, or the limiting frictional force bears a constant ratio with normal reaction at contact surface. If the frictional force or the limiting frictional force is F and the normal reaction at contact surface is Rn, then F is proportional to Rn. To change the proportionality sign, F is equal to mu Rn. This constant of proportionality mu is known as coefficient of friction. Then next characteristics of friction, angle of friction. It is the angle between normal reaction at contact surface and resultant of normal reaction at limiting friction. Just see this figure. Rn is the normal reaction, F is the frictional force, F is equal to mu Rn. Resultant, R is the resultant of normal reaction and frictional force. So angle of friction is denoted by phi, that is the angle between normal reaction and resultant of normal reaction and limiting friction. So from the figure you will get tan phi is equal to mu. Next, angle of repose. It is the maximum inclination of a plane on which a body can remain at rest without applying any external force. Here you can see a body resting on an inclined plane. Alpha is the angle of repose. And also angle of friction is equal to angle of repose. Then next, laws of friction. The maximum friction that can be developed is independent of the area of contact. So the frictional force is independent of area of contact. At low velocity, the frictional force is independent of velocity at contact surface. So for low velocity, frictional force does not depend on velocity. The maximum frictional force is proportional to normal reaction at contact surface. As I have explained in coefficient of friction, the maximum frictional force is proportional to normal reaction at contact surface. The force of friction always acts in the direction opposite to the direction in which body moves or tends to move. So the frictional force always acts in a direction opposite to the direction of applied force. Till the limiting value is reached, the magnitude of frictional force is equal to the external force. So till limiting friction reaches, magnitude of frictional force is always equal to the magnitude of applied force. And last point, the force of friction depends on surface roughness. Frictional force occurs only if the surface is rough. For smooth surface, the frictional force will be 0. Okay, so these are the important concepts to be studied in laws of motion. Thank you.